Hello there. Come on, Boris, give us a break. It was a party. Why won't the Prime Minister stop digging a hole for himself, stop taking us for fools, and just go? And take his eco-warrior Princess Nut with him. Never has this nation been so badly represented. We're in deep trouble if our Prime Minister doesn't even know if he was at work or in a party. And the fact that the offending email talked about bringing your own booze should have been a distinct giveaway. If your accountant turned up with a crate of lager to go over your accounts with you, I'm sure you'd raise an eyebrow. And the Boris performance at PMQs was very cringeworthy, unconvincing, and possibly overdone in its contrition. Many of us had high hopes for you, Mr. Johnson, and many of us welcomed the entrance of a libertarian leader to rise up against the pro-EU authoritarianism of the Liberal left and the new hard-left Labour Party, yet you have proven to be anything but libertarian. You shut down this nation and placed authoritarian controls on society, controls hitherto unseen on the shores of the UK, and decided to go ultra-green in the process, while you and your advisers sat happily in the sun together quaffing booze. And it's now becoming apparent that your historical legacy won't be that of a noble statesman who got Brexit done, but as a liar who presided over a government of liars who were advised by liars, none of whom seem to have followed the rules they demanded of others. And you've thrown dodgy stats out there at the behest of others in order to keep this charade going. Mr. Johnson, this is not a joke. We really do have a very big problem if you don't understand the severity of your actions. People died alone. People took their own lives, and elderly people were kept from their loved ones because you and your cohort forbade social interaction. Yet you had a party at your house with over 100 invitees. The only libertarian thing you've done is make the rest of us realise that no government can be trusted, especially a government that imposes such draconian measures on its own society. There you are, the Prime Minister and leader of the Tory party, and the only thing you seem able to apologise for is that the rest of us didn't realise you were attending works meetings and not parties. Isn't that about the sum of it? And we keep hearing about all the hard stuff your number 10 team were working on. Well, those of us who weren't on furlough or who didn't qualify were also putting the hours in too. And when we hear that your lot were working on the hard stuff, we now know exactly which hard stuff you were referring to. Must be a hoot working for the Tories in government. Let's partay. And what is Boris trying to claim now? That he's got a Nelsonian patch over both eyes, a sort of I see no parties approach. In the final analysis, this is a slow-mo Tory party leadership crash, and the wreckage is inevitable, and all that dictates the pace is the frame rate. And does Boris think it'll all be forgotten in a few days? Now there will be those who are extremely worried that if Boris goes, the whole Brexit and Tory agenda will fall apart with a new leader, whoever it is. But those arguing that Boris must stay or we'll get a Remainer, etc., 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 aren't paying attention to what's going on. Why do you think Lord David Frost has already exited stage left? It must have been obvious to him that Boris has no intention of triggering Article 16, or he'd have done it already. As I've said before, on Brexit, this is about as far as the Boris bus goes. And as to our porous borders and the English Channel red carpet, that's never going to be fixed by a Boris Johnson government. And Boris is the main driver of this grand eco project, all under the watchful eye of Princess Nut, Who else in the UK politics would have been as enthusiastic about wrecking UK domestic heating and taking cars off the road while ensuring we have no energy security to speak of? Apart from Caroline Lucas, of course, and she's in the Green Party. And those who say that others also broke the rules forget that the others they refer to didn't make the rules in the first place. Now many eyes will be casting about for his successor, and it has been remarked on that Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, suddenly found it necessary to be in Devon on the day Boris faced the music at PMQs. But if he's hoping to distance himself from the PM just in case there is a leadership election, he will have shown himself to be weak and unprincipled. He should resign, not hide away while still taking the Boris gold. Any Secretary of State or Minister that hasn't resigned by the end of today or openly called for the resignation of Boris Johnson is a minister that is backing Boris. That's it. And they should therefore not receive the backing of their party for any subsequent leadership bid. At least the Tory leader in Scotland, Douglas Ross, has publicly stated that Boris must go and says he will be putting in his letter of no confidence. And veteran Tory MP Sir Roger Gale said that this episode had left people like him in an impossible situation, while Ruth Davidson tweeted, "And I'm not convinced today drew a line under anything either." But as I said in a video earlier today, this is all about the Tory backbenches now. It's up to them to decide whether or not Boris must face a vote of no confidence in his leadership of their party. So will the required 54 letters of no confidence be handed in to Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of their backbench 1922 committee, like Douglas Ross says he will do? Now earlier this afternoon, the BBC's Laura Koonsberg tweeted out, "Sounds like the Prime Minister is in the tea room. Very unusual for him to go and press the flesh like that." And then she followed it up later with, "Another Tory MP told me that in the tea room the PM told him and colleagues it's not his fault and he's bravely taking the blame for others. Caused much consternation among colleagues given that he'd just given a public apology." And who will now believe Boris, given that, if that's true, he should be sacking people, not taking the blame? So who should they go for to replace Boris? Well, I have floated the idea before that it should be Steve Baker. That might be the only Tory hope for a real break with the past. But it might come down to selecting someone that Dominic Cummings doesn't have a dossier of dirty deeds on. And someone that Tory donors won't need to be tapped into to pay for wallpaper and carpets either. I suppose the only thing we might really end up being thankful to Partygate for is the relative relaxation of the current lockdown rules in England compared to Wales and Scotland, as well as many other places around the world. Maybe what stopped Boris doing a Sturgeon or Drakeford on us was that he knew this was coming and realised that imposing such hard restrictions on us just before such revelations came out would have amounted to an act of political suicide. And finally, everyone keeps asking this question. Why is it that the great and good, whether it be the Tories or world leaders at G20, G7 or the COP26, all wander breezily about their various events without a COVID care in the world, while their minions have to cower behind face coverings, stay socially distanced, and scurry straight home after work? What is the difference between them? What is it that the few know that the rest of us aren't allowed to know? So do you think Boris's time is up? Please like and comment below. Please subscribe and like this video, buy a mug and support me on Patreon or PayPal, and thank you for watching.